Hey folks, your
Absolute Packer podcast initiating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ready, go for it.
Hello, Absolute Packers fans, and welcome to episode 15 of the Absolute Packer podcast with Elliot and Andy. Today we're going to recap Packers versus the Bucks, along with some other stuff, and then we might get into the drama that is Aaron Rodgers' collarbone gate. So what's up, Elliot?
Hey, it's all good. I feel like that should have gone better, but you know, whatever.
The game you mean, or my intro?
No, your intro's great. yeah. I hear they might be looking for some some coaching changes next year with the Packers. I hope they give you a look.
Yeah. Basically, my coaching would be like, don't do what they did. That's the extent of my real NFL knowledge.
Right.
You see that guy over there? He's fast. He's skilled. Get him on the field. That would be my...
Me too.
Quit having him, collect dust on the sideline.
And you know what? I think half of it's luck. I mean, these guys aren't that much greater than a lot of the fans. So
Yeah, but I digress. So the lowly Bucks, everybody at the beginning of the year, prior to the Rodgers injury, everybody looked at this and said, we should have this game. And then coming into this game, even though we had Hundley, most people thought, we should still get this game because they had the 32nd ranked defensive secondary, the Bucks. And even though Hundley's not much of a thrower, that's going to help, and it's a home game and all these things. But once again, it was a rough game for Hundley at home. I do not understand why he struggles so much at home. I don't think he's thrown a single touchdown pass at home yet, which is unbelievable. He had a wide open Geronimo Allison on that first drive. I don't know if you saw that. I mean, looked like it was either busted coverage or he just got behind it and he threw a crappy ball and missed him. And
I know
those are the ones you can't miss when you got Hundley back there. And I mean, he flat out missed him. And then he only passed for 87 yards the whole stinking game, which that's 2 games at home, I believe, where he's passed for a decent clip, less than 100 yards. It's hard to do. So it's perplexing. I mean, it's kind of it's obviously disappointing, but I don't understand how he can thrive on the road but not thrive at home. It's very antithetical, but it is what it is. I don't know if you have any comments on that. But
I've been disappointed all the way around. This isn't our first game to go down to the wire to just barely squeak out a win.
Yeah, the ending was great, but nonetheless.
Right. I mean, it was fun to watch, right? So it's a great game to watch. If no matter what, if you.
Well, I don't know if the game was great to watch. I'll say this: the last play was really fun to watch. Everything in between was brutal.
Well, I mean, it was a close game, but it was.
No doubt.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it wasn't spectacular football on either side of the ball.
Yeah. So Jamal Williams, who is the starter, basically the third string running back, he got the start. He's getting. He's really impressing me. He's running hard. I mean, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the shiftiest guy. But he's playing great. I mean, every time he gets the ball, he falls forward and gets positive yardage. He's not, having a lot of negative plays, and he just runs hard. These are more generic kind of coaching terms you hear, but they're true. He's out there and he's pounding away at guys. And, I made a sub note here that every game that goes by, and every other running back that gets some time is just more and more, pushing Ty Montgomery either, out of the starting lineup or out of the Packers team in general. I mean, I just don't see where he fits anymore. He's a player without a home. He doesn't belong at running back. Nope. He wasn't much of a receiver. I don't know what I think they're just going to move him back to receiver next year. I don't see them getting rid of him, but man, the experiment, it's just not a good look. If there's one kind of good thing that's come about since the Rodgers injury, and they've had to lean on the running game more. So they found out what they have in Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. So that's a positive, but it's also been revealing that Ty Montgomery is not good.
Yeah, no doubt. So what was up with so did Aaron Jones just play for the touchdown?
He did. He had one carry, and it was a touchdown to end the game in overtime. Thank the Lord.
What was that all about?
Well, McCarthy, I guess what it was kind of a surprise. He was active, but he didn't play at all. And then at the end of the game in overtime, everybody's tired as all hell. And so who had the freshest legs on the bench was Aaron Jones. He had been, that was basically it. I mean, when he got out there, he shifted a little bit and it was clogged up in the middle and he bounced around. He was gone. I mean, he flew in there. So he looked like he hadn't played in a few weeks and he had fresh legs, and he flew right in there. And that was a cool way to end. And it was his one carry was 20 yards for a touchdown. So
no doubt. I mean, I think we're pretty critical, but that was the right call.
Yeah, no doubt. That was really smart on McCarthy's part. And obviously, if you have one carry for a winning touchdown, I mean, that's pretty good stats right there. So yeah, they have intriguing running backs, going into next year and even for the rest of the season.
So I feel like up until, I don't know, first half, maybe the first three quarters even, they didn't take opportunities to just put the game away. They're lacking that edge of competitiveness.
Well, I think it's just they're lacking being a good team. I mean, and that's a big part of it. As much as you wish. I mean, some of the stats, it's obvious that Hundley has a connection with Davante Adams, and Davante Adams. I mean, I think he maybe had 5 or 6 catches for 40 yards, but guys Randall Cobb didn't have a single target the entire game, and the guy's making $10 million. Jordy Nelson probably caught 5 or 6 balls or 15 yards, which is hard to do to get that many balls thrown your way and average that kind of yardage. It's just it's insane. And then tight ends aren't catching anything. So you look at his stats; he's 87 yards. I mean, this is where it's coming from. Jordy Nelson, I made a note here. I mean, what you're seeing from him is he's losing a step in real time. He was a fantastic player. He's on the downside of his career. He had that knee injury a couple of years ago. He's 32, and what we are seeing as Packer fans is you are seeing a player decline in front of your very eyes. He doesn't have a quick twitch, and Rodgers made him look better than he is. He's a good player, but Rodgers made him look better than he is.
It's so sad because I think he's a fan favorite.
No doubt, and it happens to everybody. I mean, when you see it happen that fast in front of your eyes, you're like, oh, this really, it's not sad because I think he's still useful, but it is kind of hard to see in a way. And when it literally is like snapping your fingers. It's like, boom, he was this, and all of a sudden he's that. And that tends to happen. Most of the time in the league, guys don't slowly decline. They decline really quick and then they're out.
Yeah.
That is not uncommon in the league.
No, not at all.
At any position, really.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, So yeah, the other note I made here was the Bucs. I want to say they ran at least 20 more offensive plays. The time of possession in this game was so wonky for the results. I mean, the Packers won in overtime, but if you looked at just the stats of the time of possession and how many offensive plays the Bucs ran versus the Packers, you would have never thought the Packers won this game. Which you could say, did the defense win it? Whatever. I'm going to say they didn't lose it. The offense, didn't win it. So I would say that the Tampa, but Jameis Winston made more mistakes. I mean, we did see Dean Lowry scoop up that fumble and take it in for a touchdown. When you have a defensive lineman take a fumble in for a touchdown, that's a pretty big game changer. So I would say Jameis Winston's a big talent, but he created a ton of mistakes. He had a lot of mistakes in that game. So
maybe the Packers had fewer mistakes, but they're just not very good.
No, they're just not. I mean, the offense isn't much, especially with Hundley there, and the defense. I mean, there's just not much there. And I mean, you look at. I'll tell you what. I don't want to hop ahead, but Devon House is injured. Kevin King, the cornerback, he went on IR this week, so he's done, and he had a bad shoulder. You should see their cornerback depth chart coming into this game with it's the Browns, but they're starting. Their best cornerback is Demarius Randall, and then they got a bunch of guys named Dave behind him. I mean, it's going to be frightening. Undrafted rookies, so their depth is being tested again, and it's right now would be a good time to have Ladarius Gunner, but they fucking cut him earlier in the year. He's not fast, but he's better than half these clowns they got back there, and that are undrafted free agents. Not a knock on those guys, even though it sounds that way. I mean, but Gunter was better than him. He's more experienced. It's just I don't think that they. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling on that, but they never should have gotten rid of Gunter, and now they're really paying for it. So.
Yeah, boy, we're so happy about a win, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what's Hundley's record? It's 2-5, I think. So he won at home, which is, we'll take that. But again, I don't understand why he struggles so much at home. It does not make any sense. But it is what it is, So what do you do?
Yeah, I guess there's not much to say about that game anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the last play with Aaron was awesome. That really was cool. But that was everything in between was kind of.
Yeah, I mean the turnover and everything, like it was fun, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd rather win one decisively for once.
No, no
than
kidding.
to
With
lose.
Hundley at the cornerback, that would be nice. That would be nice. But yeah, fat guy touchdowns, what they call that, like when Lowry went in.
Yeah,
Those are
love
fun
that.
to watch.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So
So, what do we got next?
outside of football stuff, this one's a follow up from last week. So Lance Kendricks, it turns out he got pulled over like in September. I think he was coming back from Madison. He was at the Badger game, and he didn't get cited, but there was something going on with marijuana, yada yada yada. Well, fast forward this week, and it turns out that he did end up getting cited because the dash cam footage came out. And it looked like the police were going to basically let him go because, and I'm not saying this is exactly what they did, but it looked like, it appeared as though they were going to let him go because he's a Packer player. So once the dash cam footage came out, they're like, oh crap, we better charge him. So it took 3 months almost to bring him charges, but he's going to be charged. And, again, not a big deal in my mind. It's marijuana. We see how progressive things are getting with that. But in the eyes of the league and how it helps the team, I mean, he's going to be suspended at least one game next year. So that hurts us that way, But yeah, so that's unfortunate. But
So we've had a lot of that.
yeah, a lot of reefer smoking. Aaron,
I mean, part of it is, I mean, these poor guys, they live in a town where there isn't much else going on, so if they do anything, they're going to get busted.
yeah, I hear you. It's not a bustling metropolis.
Well, so and I'm joking about that, but I mean we have more players that are getting caught for that, I think, than anybody.
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I don't have the data here to look up the rest of the league. I mean, it's a fair question, but again, I look at it as it depends what they're getting busted for. Marijuana, but I mean, you could be right, but I'm not sure. But who the heck knows?
I guess I'm not either. I guess I hear about them, of course, when they're Packer players, but I think we hear about it when it's other players as well. And
somewhat, but it does also. It also depends on who it is. I mean, I think when there's really rank and file guys like on the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're probably not going to hear about it. But who knows? I mean, maybe we're obviously more in tune with the Packers and even more divisional kind of players, I would say. But but it could be. I mean, maybe we are. It's possible. Hey, it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. So, it's still against the rules for them to have that stuff as players.
Exactly. I look at it that way too,
So even when it's legal, that still might not be a cool thing for them to do. So
yeah, let's hope they kind of jump that chasm quickly. But like anything, I'm sure it'll take a little bit.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if we're still talking about that kind of thing in 5 years.
I don't think in 5, but I would almost rather be like in 2 than not. But you never know.
Right.
You never know.
I don't know. They don't need that though right now. They need
this team needs some good news to come out. They need news to come out that Lance Kendricks rescued an old lady from a burning house. That's what they need.
Well, and I'm not advocating drug use of any kind, but I mean, that marijuana is not going to make you a super energetic player.
Yeah, and I mean, look, these guys are taking it. Number one because there's certain I'll say the cultural reasons, but also because pain. Yes, I mean these guys they are throwing their bodies around, and it's like So yeah, I mean they used to be taking the Favres were taking Vicodins and all that, and now
Right.
So again, to you and I, it's not that big a deal, but at the same time, if it hurts the team, it hurts the team, and that's what's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. Vicodin's way worse, man.
Yeah, I'd love to know what does Brett Favre's insides look like after?
Oh my God.
That guy was shoveling them down like it was, candy. It was some of the, when I read his book, Gunslinger, have you read that book, by the way? Gunslinger by Jeff Pearlman? Read it.
Yeah.
Add that to the top of your list.
Me before.
Top of your list.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
It is not a good portrait of Brett Favre.
Interesting.
He's not what people think. And it's, I mean, not all that surprising, but then there's some other nuggets in there that are kind of surprising. You're like, oh, well, that sucks. But yeah, he was. But it's still a good read. It's a very good read. Mm-hmm. So it basically says all your heroes are flawed on some level, and many enable them.
Well, I mean, on a greater, looking at the greater picture, like that is absolutely true. We
Yeah.
act like these,
No doubt.
these people.
He's not the only
you
one.
know?
He's not the only one to doubt. No, I mean Michael Jordan. I'm sure he's got so much baggage too. People don't talk about womanizing,
Oh,
and
sure.
gambling, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean those guys when you're that
They're all
talented-
people.
Exactly.
They're all people. Yeah, and I don't know why we expect anybody to.
And
not
also
be people.
when people tell you your shit doesn't stink for your entire natural life, you think your shit doesn't stink.
yeah, and that
So-
kind of enables it. Sure,
Exactly.
no doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the money comes along, and there you go. So, JS comments are a
Yeah.
little lean,
I mean-
but if you can lead into these, go ahead.
Well, I like the ones you picked. So Kendrick stopped for speed drugging, but never for running with a football in his hand down the sidelines for a TD. Hey, can't argue with that. It's true, but
Yeah, Kendrick's the tight
little
ends. Yeah, harsh but funny, no doubt. I love this. I love this Twitter account, as everybody knows. But there's truth in there too. In that these tight ends. I mean, Bennett. We know we're done with Bennett. That was a disaster. But even Kendricks has been a disaster. He hasn't done squat. He happens to just be on the team. I mean, Richard Rodgers, who's slow as all hell, is the guy who's getting more snaps because he's just familiar. He's more familiar with the team, and it's like they desperately need some kind of athletic tight end to go down the seam. They got nothing, and now it's another need. They've signed 2 free agents, and they're going to need to look at it again in the draft or free agent.
I do.
And and I'm sure Ted's thrilled about that. So
I don't know.
speaking of Ted, look at the next one.
From what I hear, Ted Thompson is the biggest horse's ass in football.
And I mean, that one it's okay. I'll rate it about a 4 out of 10. But anytime you use the phrase "horse's ass," you have to bring it in there. It's such a great term. It's like a throwback from like something they'd say in like the 50s and 60s or something. I don't know.
So that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's the biggest horse.
I don't know. I think this
among
guy,
GMs.
I consider it fact. No, I'm kidding. It's not subjective. It's very objective. Look here. Like I always say this. You know about me. The truth lies somewhere between. I mean, are the
course.
players? Is the team underachieving because Ted isn't drafting well, or is it because they aren't being coached well? It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ted is the high. He's the man in the high castle. He's the highest guy up before Mark Murphy when it comes to running the football side of things. And they are. You talk about an insulated, just kind of don't tell anybody anything. I mean, Ted doesn't do interviews ever. He comes out for the combine and then he goes away and hibernates for the whole year. It's just they do things their way and they don't give a rat's ass about it. And when things aren't going well, he throws Mike McCarthy out there as lackey to talk about the roster. And that's one thing I don't agree with. I mean, Mike must be okay with it, or maybe he's not, and he just does it anyway. But I mean, like when Martellus Bennett got released, that's where frickin' Ted should come out and talk about that. And it's Mike talking about it. It's like, really? Like he's got enough on his plate.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's leadership is what I think it is. But
Well, I mean, so part of it is saying, no, Mike's my guy, and I want him to be the face of our organization.
so what the hell's Ted then?
Well, I think he likes being behind the scenes, pulling the levers and, scouting.
I think, and I've said this, Ted he's a glorified scout masquerading as a GM. That's what he is. He's not a GM. He's a scout.
Yeah.
And I mean, why does he get away with it? Because it's Green Bay.
Probably.
I don't think he's not the best GM. He's not the worst GM. He's probably, people think he was great for all these years. I think he's probably right in the middle. He's probably, around 15, medium, middle of the road type GM, Rodgers cures so many ills. It's true.
Well, that's just it. Like the Packers are not the worst team in the league. I mean, we'll see. We'll certainly see this week.
Even if they lose, they're not the worst team in the league.
Right.
But they're
Right,
not.
right.
Let's see. If they lose to the Browns, it's not good, and I would consider them a bottom third team in the league. But right now, they're hovering around the middle of the pack to bottom third.
Yeah.
You put Rodgers back in there, and they elevate to probably top 10.
Yeah. That won't. I don't know if that's enough to make the playoffs. Probably not.
I'd probably not either.
Yeah.
So
So the last one is is there any possibility that Hundley can play another position, maybe tight end or somewhere on defense? Looks like he has the physical talent. Just wondering because the Packers won't get much from him. And somebody answered, no.
pretty much, yeah, it's hilarious. And like these same clowns that say take Jeff Janis, make him a cornerback, or make him a tight end. I'm like,
Yeah, that's rough.
but that's Jay's comments for you. So
Yeah,
I would expect nothing less.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, so a part of me appreciates that viewpoint only because I like the loyalty, but
Yeah.
but it's
The
not
quote,
realistic.
no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a parody account.
Yeah.
So even if somebody posts
Yeah.
something on there and it makes total sense, you're like, wait a minute, there's some ulterior motive underneath here.
Well, sure, sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Business league stuff.
Yeah.
Here we go. So Roger Goodell, the owners and Jerry Jones were pissed and they were going to go after him, and he's in big trouble, and the contract negotiations all a bunch of hooey because he just signed a 5-year extension that might be worth north of $200 million. So the golden boy who makes the money gets his new contract. It's money, 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 money.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised at all,
No, me neither.
And the rich get richer, and so I mean, outside of just reporting that he got a huge contract extension, there's not much else to say there. But it's funny how the owners try to play their hands and say, "Oh, I'm anti-Goodell, I'm pro-Goodell, and this, that, the other." But money talks and bullshit walks, man. And so.
Yeah.
And I don't think Goodell's the worst commissioner. He's not the best. The way he's handled discipline and all that is a joke.
That's terrible.
It's a joke.
I think that has to be fixed because you have to be.
You can't though, because the CBA basically said they gave him all power. That was the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
And the players union they re-upped the contract of DeMaurice Smith, who's the head of the NFLPA, and I mean they gave away the farm on that because once it came time in 2011 for players in the offseason to miss checks, they had all the leverage, and they gave Roger Goodell the keys to the frickin' kingdom, and what they got out of it was, oh, we don't want to practice as much anymore, and that's all they got. And everything else, I mean, they let Goodell be judge, jury, and executioner. So as far as I'm concerned, the players have no one to blame for themselves on that.
Well, maybe so, but that's not. It's not good for the league.
No, I mean,
to have that situation.
Yeah,
there needs to be consistency. You need to know what the rules are.
I agree with that.
I feel like none of us really know what.
We don't even know what a catch is. It's. I mean, that's.
I say that. God, I say that after every play. I'm like, no other sport has this problem where like the basics of the game are always in question.
I know, really.
Like it's either out of bounds or inbounds. Like those are the really tight questions in.
I'm just waiting for the ref to come out, and the ref is going to be like fake news.
I just we need to come up with some like clear cut standards. I mean, if you're a player. I don't even know how you play defense in this league.
It's pathetic. You saw that post that I put on Absolute Packer Fans where that one player was ranting about it, and part of me was like, it was twofold. Part of me was like, I get what this guy's saying, but the other part of me is going, this guy in this climate, in this day and age, is going to get he's going to get smashed out there by guys, and guys did come out and hit him hard. So it's like both sides of the fence,
But he's right.
He's right, but it's also in this day and age, you have to know that that's the way it's headed. So you can't really complain in a way. I see both sides, is what I'm saying.
I do too,
and it's good to see that honesty.
So he shouldn't probably be complaining publicly.
Exactly. The fact that he said it honestly right there was something.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit for that.
But I agree with that. I mean, when you don't know what if a catch is a catch, if you don't know if
well, he made a really good point in there actually, where he said specifically, and this is what a lot of people should take away, that a lot of injuries happen when a quarterback throws a player a really bad ball, and the other guy gets in a compromising position because the ball's not where it's supposed to be, and you get a guy hurt. That happens a lot.
And I really felt for him on that because it's what is he supposed to do?
Yeah,
he's supposed to just completely like pull back.
No doubt.
I mean, I don't know. It's a game of milliseconds. We see this stuff in slow motion. We're very critical about it, but I mean even the worst players in this league are amazing.
Oh, I know.
At following these crazy rules that aren't even rules.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't even know why I tune in half the time.
Well, we wouldn't have a podcast without it. Did you watch the game? No, I didn't. Let's talk about something else.
You do all the hard work, so it's all good.
I'll bill you later. Anyway, I had to throw that in there. Just squeeze it. So next item on here.
Yeah.
John Dorsey was hired by the Browns as their new GM. And for those out there who don't know who John Dorsey was, he used to be a scout, a high-end scout under Ted Thompson a few years ago. He left, I want to say it was 4 or 5 years ago, to become the GM of the Chiefs. He got fired in the offseason, so he's been kind of sitting out there with no home. And I personally thought that he was being groomed to take over for Ted. But that's not going to happen because the Browns, in a move I've never seen, they fired their general manager and hired a new one on the same day. And I would say this is a great hire for the Browns on the surface. On the surface, because there's been other times you go, oh, that's good for the Browns, and then it all goes to shit, And typically that's what happens. But John Dorsey, I think it was a really good hire, and that just takes off one other potential, successor for Ted. So we still don't know what's going to happen with Ted, and I've told you time and time again that I think that no matter what we could lose out or we win out, that Ted's coming back, Mike's coming back, and Dom Capers is fired. That's what's going to happen. So
I'm leaning your direction on that. I just can't see Ted Thompson being fired. Period.
And I can't see him walking away.
Yeah. Oh no. So, he's not gonna walk away this year. That's the kind of thing.
His contract is to stay through the 2018 after the season draft. So he's basically a year and then the draft.
Okay.
That's what he's got left. And Mike McCarthy, he'll basically be a lame duck for lack of a better term. So like I said, we talked about, will he get extended? And Ted and Mike would be lame duck. I don't know. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but the John Dorsey thing I didn't see coming. And the fact that he took the job either means he just wanted to get back into football, or he sees there's an actual opportunity there.
Right.
Part of me is he's probably like, well, they offered me a ton of money, but it's the Browns, for Christ's sake.
Right. So
they are just a dumpster fire of a team. I feel so bad for the fans there. Jesus.
So are Ted and Mike McCarthy like a package deal?
Yep, I think so.
I think so too.
They're tied at the hip.
So I can't see us really being able to get rid of either of them. So when the contract's up, they're going to be extended.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting. Unless Mark Murphy does something else, or there's something else we don't know. And that's. I tend to agree with you. This offseason is gonna be crazy with drama.
But if you're leading up the Packers and you're not like a super fan like you are, the Packers are making money, the league's making money. Why mess with a good system?
I get it. And people have even said too that if you tear it down now while Rodgers is in his prime, you're going to set the organization back 3 or 4 years. I don't know about that. Not in this day and age. It's hard to say. That on the surface, but I think you could turn this around relatively quickly with a new defensive coordinator. So if they fire Mike, that might do some stuff, but I don't know.
I can't see that happening.
I don't either. I don't either.
I think they're both stuck until Rodgers is done.
And one thing I'll give McCarthy credit on. They've had it's not a good look for the whole damn team, whether it's coaching, personnel, and everything after Rodgers went down. But the team hasn't quit. And they're holding out hope. They're holding out hope that when Rodgers comes back, hopefully the team will lift up a little bit. This team's not going anywhere, even if it makes the playoffs. But still, to rally around the team, because I'll tell you what, if you see the team actually quit, if you can actually see this team quit, then that's the end. You have to fire. You can't have that. Let's put it this way: if the Browns blow out the Packers, God forbid, that would be the end.
Well, I saw somebody say that about the Badgers. How I did not watch the game today. I don't even know if it was on already but
I didn't watch the
I saw a blip.
Big Ten championship, but I followed on Twitter a little bit.
Yeah, and so somebody made the comment that they just look like like they got the spirit kind of knocked out of them.
Yeah, and focusing on the Badgers real quick, that was the first time they won that many games in a season, and I think Christ is a perfect coach for them, but they didn't play anybody tough. They didn't have anybody tough on their schedule, I should say, relatively speaking, until they faced Ohio State in the championship. They really didn't. Their defense was good, and their defense held up, but you talk about Alec Hornibrook, their quarterback, he makes Brett Hundley look like fucking Johnny Unitas. Hornibrook is terrible. The whole team did everything despite, the defense, and the whole team did everything in spite of that. So that's because I watched Wisconsin play a few times, and I'm like, this is, wow. He does not deserve to be a starting quarterback on any Division I team, and that's what they got. So,
yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I appreciate your comment about the Packers not losing.
Not yet. And I don't think they will. You know, in this day and age too, it's like when you have $1 million athletes, you know, how much pride can there be, and yada yada yada. There's still something there, you know.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it when some teams have quit, and when teams quit on their coach, that's when people do get fired. You know.
Well, see, that's like, I hate to say it, but that's how I sort of felt about Jordy. It's hard for me to know looking at
Like,
him.
you think he's kind of quitting?
Well, he's like, I don't know. It feels like he's phoning it in half the time. And
I'm sure there's frustration because Hundley, you know, they're not going to have the best the stats and everything that they would with Rodgers, but also it's unfair because, and this is where I was really hard on Hundley, but as I step back, you know, you went from potentially the greatest quarterback in the history of the game to a backup. Right. I mean, you talk about an untenable situation. Yeah. It wasn't like they went from Case Keenum of the Vikings to Brett Hundley. They went from fucking Aaron Rodgers to Brett Hundley. And I mean, so that is just, that's tough for Hundley. And I mean, that's tough for the receivers. It's just it's spoiled, you know, it's a drop off of epic proportions just because it is.
Well, even no matter how good Hundley gets, you know, he'll be probably at best a middle of the road.
Yeah. I mean, he's a 5th round pick, you know, he wasn't a high pick. He's a developmental pick. So, I mean, hopefully he just continues to improve. I don't think he's really what's weird, he's wildly inconsistent. He hasn't really regressed. He's been good, he's been bad, he's been good, he's been bad. It's when he starts to go bad where you get worried.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, that's with anything, yeah.
Yep.
So you put a note here. You want to do a poll like on Facebook?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. And basically, it's simple. If the Packers lose to the Browns, should, quote, everybody be fired?
So that's a different question than, do you think they will be fired?
Yep.
Okay, so
it is. It's phrased. Yeah, it's phrased a specific way, and I think we should keep it that way. You know, just see what the folks think. So
yeah, I mean, and it'd be a nice discussion to hear why. You know, like you touched on, like, so if we just clean house and we get new people in, what does that do to the team? What does that do to
Rodgers? It do to everything? Because exactly.
So I think that's everything right now. Like that's what we're looking at. Like, okay, so what do you do about next year?
There's a big part of me, to your point, that is, I mean, I'm already kind of there, but I'm also still watching the team in real time. So it's just, it's going to be a really interesting couple of, you know, next few weeks.
It will be
to gauge the whole damn organization, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know. You think playoffs or not?
No. And the reason I say that is they have to win out, and then like 2 or 3 other scenarios have to happen for them to. So it's not like they win out, they get in. You know, they have to win out, and other things have to fall their way. And it's just, I think their odds, somebody said, is like 750 to 1. So that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 750 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, right?
It might be to make the playoffs.
No.
I could be wrong.
We got to look that up. But okay. So they got Cleveland. They should win that. They have Carolina. They can win that, especially if Rodgers is back. Minnesota, I think they will win that. That's at home. It's with Rodgers back. That was the injury. I think they win that, and Minnesota doesn't need to win it.
Yeah.
And then is that last game? No, we have Detroit after that.
Detroit is the last game.
Yeah. So we'll beat Detroit. I mean, we should beat Detroit. So I mean, like we have a very, very winnable schedule. Really, the toughest game on that list is at Carolina, and that could go either way. You know, I could see that being a 50-50 kind of deal. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, they might back into the playoffs a little bit.
It's possible, but it's very unlikely. So, I mean, if you had, like I said, gun to my head, they're not going to make it. So, but I'm not, you know.
Well, I mean, so Carolina's ahead of in the wild card race right now. So if we beat them, and you know that counts as one of their losses, like that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, there's certain tiebreakers that could take effect, and then after when you get into those tiebreakers, it's kind of the thing where, like I told you, like if we beat the Vikings, they have a win, we have a win, so then it comes down to you know common opponents, and then if there's the same with the common opponents, you go down this rabbit hole where it's like margin of victory over common opponents and shit like that. It's like
I don't know how far it's ever gone, but I don't think it needs to go that far.
And it won't. It won't. It won't.
Yeah. So. But yeah. I mean, if we win out and the Vikings lose out, it's up grabs, but I don't see that happening.
I don't either. I hear you.
So last thing on our list, just remind everybody, please feel free to call and leave a voicemail, 508-535-5468. and just leave us your thoughts on the Browns game before, after, during, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know what you thought about those videos last time we did, but that was kind of I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think it's still good to do. You know, I called mine. I basically branded it APP fifth quarter. So just real quick recap. It's kind of like your gut reactions.
I love that name. I think that's a great name.
Yeah, APP fifth quarter. And if you do the one on the fan page, the APP fan page, and I do the one on the APP Packer Facebook page, you know, there's good use to. You know, I haven't done a whole lot of Facebook Live videos, but I think that's a good use. You keep it quick, and as more and more people get engaged, you could even start answering some questions and things like that. But you know, I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. So, let's beat the Browns. Go back out.
Please. Yep, go back out.
Podcast.
Chair.
I know, right?